This is Gypsy Creek, a trickle barely managing to reach her mouth at Lake Superior. But would you believe it? The owners of this cabin had to move the building back 40 feet from the bluff edge. So unexpected was the rate of erosion. Here's why. Although she may not look like much in autumn, spring snowmelt swells the creek into a raging torrent. So remember this lesson. When it comes to water, expect the unexpected. Here's Gypsy Creek a couple miles to the south, where Canadian mining company Highland Copper is hard at work combining the flows of 6 streams together in order to make room for their sulfide waste containment facility. You see, unlike the 99% pure native copper mines of the past, the proposed Copperwood project has an ore grade of only 1 to 1.5%, meaning that nearly all of what comes out of the ground will not be copper, but waste so toxic and unwieldy it has to be contained on site forever. All in all, over 50 million tons of mine waste will be piled into a tailings disposal facility, right where all those streams were inconsiderately flowing. Well, no longer. Now these waterways, unaltered by humans for billions of years, have been forever rerouted, and none too elegantly at that. This meander looks like it was designed by a computer, and it probably was. It gets worse as we zoom out. The new superstream is being forced to turn at an abrupt 90-degree angle around the future waste containment facility. Because we all know a right angle is a natural shape for a stream to make, right? Natural, stable, and safe. Mine waste, aka tailings, doesn't get talked about often because it has no commercial value, but it does pose significant environmental risk. Many substances found in tailings are toxic, even radioactive, and it's not uncommon to find significant amounts of mercury, arsenic, cadmium, and lead, all of which are on the World Health Organization's top 10 chemicals of public health concern list. You might think, well, who cares if a bit of mercury or cadmium gets in the streams? I don't drink stream water. Perhaps not, but the plankton does, and the fish eat the plankton, and the big fish eat the little ones, and the bear eats the big fish, and in every link of the chain, the heavy metals concentrate to more toxic levels, all the way up to the human at the dinner table. This process is called bioaccumulation, or biomagnification, and it's the reason you really don't want heavy metals in the environment. Oh, there's one little thing I forgot to mention. That 323-acre tailings facility, holding 50-plus million tons of heavy metal-laden waste, stored at the juncture of right-angled streams. It'll be just 2 miles from Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake on planet Earth. And take a look at all those blue squiggles. Why is it that they all lead to the lake? Are they attending some sort of convention or something? Well, you see, there's this thing called gravity. Perhaps you've heard of it. Gravity's the reason all those streams reach the lake, and gravity's the reason that, if something goes wrong with the tailings dam, we know exactly where the waste will end up. We'd better hope these guys know what they're doing. Unfortunately, the evidence points to the contrary. Already in their preparatory activities, Highland Copper has violated permits and degraded wetlands. Quote, "The mining company's big mistake came when it continued to test drilling operations during spring snowmelt in and around wetlands, without first obtaining the necessary wetlands or soil erosion and sediment control permits." And these are the guys we're trusting with Lake Superior, a full 10% of the world's surface fresh water? Great. But it gets worse when we take a stroll through the 2018 public comments document. Mind you, these comments were not made by Bill and Jane from the donut shop. Many come from biologists, geologists, and water quality specialists. Comment number 8 expresses a concern shared by many others. The field data used in the 2018 environmental assessment comes not from 2018, but from over 12 years ago. During that time, the southern shore of Lake Superior experienced below-average precipitation, with drought conditions occurring during the spring and summer of 2010. Does the claim hold up? Let's take a look. Gogebic County, where the mine would be built, has a 30-year annual rainfall average of just under 35 inches. But the period of the environmental assessment averaged over 4 inches lower. Not only that, but since then we've seen an average of 3.5 inches higher than the 30-year value, making for a difference of nearly 8 inches between then and now. Why does it matter? Because a lot will have changed with such a drastic increase in rainfall, like the diversity of biological communities, like wetland area and stream flow data, like the groundwater table. On that note, the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission analysis shows that many of the streams at the mine site have a connection to the underlying bedrock aquifer, contrary to what Highland Copper claims, a sentiment repeated later on. If these guys don't even know that the groundwater connects to the streams they've rerouted, then what else don't they know? By now I'm starting to lose confidence in this project, but we're just getting started. There's mention too of subsidence, the unexpected sinking and caving in of land, which Highland Copper doesn't plan for. There's also mention of reactive sulfide minerals, which upwelling groundwater could move within 100 feet or even into Lake Superior, presenting the possibility of acid drainage even after mining operations cease. But wait, what is acid drainage anyway? Here's what the EPA has to say. Acid mine drainage is the formation and movement of highly acidic water rich in heavy metals. This acidic water forms through the chemical reaction of water with rocks that contain sulfur-bearing minerals, resulting in sulfuric acid. Heavy metals can be leached from rocks that come in contact with the acid, a process that may be substantially enhanced by bacterial action. The resulting fluids may be highly toxic and, when mixed with groundwater, surface water, and soil, may have harmful effects on humans, animals, and plants. So, heavy metals again, right next to the largest freshwater lake on Earth. Nice. But somehow, it keeps getting worse. Many comments note that the mine's infrastructure has been designed to anticipate a 100-year storm event, which is troubling considering the occurrence of recent, larger, and more frequent precipitation events in the region. Take a look at this article on the famous Father's Day flood of 2018, which raged from Ashland, Wisconsin to Houghton, Michigan. A nearby rain gauge recorded 5.55 inches of rain in just 6 hours. That rainfall was a 1,000-year event. That means rainfall that intense only has a 1 in 1,000 chance of occurring in a given year. It was that same storm which caused this ravine to form at the Presque Isle campground in Porcupine Mountain State Park, only a couple miles from the mine site. Nobody expected a ravine to form in a single day. There was a 1 in 1,000 chance that year for such a strong storm. Yet it still happened. And not once, but twice. Here's another 1,000-year rainstorm which hit Gogebic County just 2 years prior in 2016. Over 12 inches of rain fell in a 4-hour period. The person who sent us this website wrote, "One hopes nothing like this would ever happen again. Hypothetically, what impact would it have on a pristine area if there was an industrial waste washout or something like that? Crazy to think about." And record-breaking rain is something we can expect more of. These increases are consistent with warming from climate change because warmer air holds more water, so extreme rain events are expected to keep increasing. We'd better hope Copperwood's infrastructure can handle such weather. But when the concern is raised regarding whether the sewage lagoon would be able to withstand another 500 or 1,000-year storm, not to mention that 323-acre mine waste containment facility on downward-sloping topography, Highland Copper responds, "The infrastructure has been designed to facilitate a 100-year storm event. This was done based on the 13-year mine life. Infrastructures designed on more extreme criteria would enlarge the footprint of the project and are not found to be justified." Not found to be justified? They made that statement the same year as this? And just 2 years after this. They're assuming that just because the mine will only run for 13 years, another 1,000-year storm won't occur, even though there's been 2 in the past decade. Folks, this is the definition of a gamble. Is it really a good idea to be gambling with the closest sulfide waste containment facility to Lake Superior in history? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Well, for one, this is what it looks like when a tailings dam ruptures. Millions of tons of heavy metal-laden sludge spilling in whatever direction gravity takes it. 270 people died in this dam collapse in Brazil in 2019. And to think this particular tailings dam was classified as a low-risk structure. But in case you think such catastrophes only occur in so-called third world countries, well, think again. Here's Canada, home to Highland Copper and all the other experts in mining.
It may be the worst environmental disaster in British Columbia's history. Yesterday morning, 10 million cubic meters of wastewater containing dangerous chemicals poured into local waterways when the earthen dam surrounding a tailings pond collapsed.
People here are gathering at a community hall tonight with major questions on their mind. The primary one, how did it happen? When it comes to an environmental disaster at a mine, few top this. 10 million cubic meters of water in a tailing pond suddenly broke free, sending tons of mud, sand, and debris into a tiny creek, which became a torrent and flowed into Quesnel Lake. At a packed community meeting, the company said it takes full responsibility, but it doesn't know why it happened.
You heard that right. The mining company says they don't know why it happened. The Mount Poly mine was designed and operated by professionals at the top of the field, and it complied with all the environmental regulations. Even so, the dam still burst. And this is precisely our point. Even in the best of hands, things can still go wrong. And a case could be made that the likelihood of things going wrong greatly increases when you're dealing with unpredictable factors like water and erosion, like right-angled streams swelling with spring snowmelt, like 1,000-year storm events amidst a changing climate, like companies with a history of violating permits who seem not to have a handle on basic facts like the connections between streams and groundwater. And a recent study shows that, despite advances in technology, serious and very serious tailings dam ruptures are actually increasing in frequency, not decreasing. The study specifically cites low ore grade projects, just like Copperwood's 1.5%, which produce such an unwieldy quantity of waste that the most advanced precautionary measures are often beyond the financial margin of small companies, just like Highland Copper.
The town is hit doubly hard. Not only does the spill threaten tourism, but people depend on the mine for jobs.
I was really devastated, actually, thinking that's where I work, that's my job, and now I can't even go back to work.
This lodge not only caters to people who fly in to fish, but also to people who work in the mine.
I think it means the end of our business, because we bring fly fisher people in to fish these lakes and rivers, and we're known as a pristine, beautiful lakes and rivers, and I don't know all what's happened in there, but right now we can't take people fishing.
A thriving outdoor recreation area, devastated by a tailings dam collapse. The parallels to our own region are eerie. We haven't even mentioned that the Copperwood mine would be right next door not just to Lake Superior, but also to the North Country Trail, now recognized as a unit of the National Park Service, as well as directly adjacent to Porcupine Mountain State Park, which, with the exception of the much less accessible Isle Royale, is the largest designated wilderness area in Michigan and was ranked last year as the most beautiful state park in the country. Perhaps most importantly, its borders hold the largest mixed old-growth forest remaining in the Midwest. Like we said, the case for Copperwood keeps getting worse and worse and worse. In the end, A person does not need to be pro-mining or anti-mining to reach a sound conclusion here. A person just needs to look at these maps, exercise a bit of common sense, and ask, does this really look like a good place for a mine?